There were very few clues discovered with the woman's body in the Alaskan wilderness. But the sheet covering her body looked very different from the bedding sold in department stores. Was it possible that the fabric could tell a story, one that could lead police to the woman's killer? When 36-year-old Judy Bergen walked into her favorite bar at the Samovar Inn in Anchorage, Alaska, it was apparent that something was terribly wrong.
The bartender, who had known Judy for years, said that when Judy came in that night, Judy looked as bad as she'd ever seen her.
Judy came from an affluent and politically connected family and was something of a free spirit, working as a cook on a fishing boat. But Judy told the bartender that she was tired of life in Alaska.
Mom, how are you doing? And I knew she was around, and I knew that she didn't have anything to complain about at the time. And so when the calls stopped coming, then I thought something had happened.
Police interviewed employees and customers of the Samovar Inn, where Judy was last seen. In particular, they wanted to interview the man Judy left with. But no one at the bar knew who the man was. He paid cash for his room, did not register under his real name, and hadn't been in the bar before or since.
All avenues were basically slammed shut for one reason or another. We were never able to determine who this person was.
Judy had been living in Anchorage with her boyfriend Carl Brown, a commercial fisherman. He told Judy's family that she was fed up with Alaska and just moved out.
He said, she told me she was going to Hawaii. So I haven't seen her, don't know anything about it. So that was all.
He just said their relationship had come to its end and she just walked off with no explanation for why she would walk off.
Police checked with the airlines and discovered that Judy didn't take a flight to Hawaii or anywhere else. 4 months would pass before police and Judy's family would finally learn where she had gone. Four months after Judy Bergen's disappearance, several hikers along Grays Creek, about 200 miles north of Anchorage, Alaska, saw what appeared to be a bundle of clothing.
It was wrapped in a sheet, but they ran over and got their mother. Their mothers came over and discovered the bashed in by what he believed to be more than one blow. And substantial force was used because the entire side and front of the skull was caved in.
The body was found in an extremely isolated location. There were several fishing camps in the area, but most were accessible only by plane.
It was pretty clear that the body had been killed somewhere else, brought to the scene, and purposely laid where it was found.
And this kind of investigation is very difficult. You have no idea who killed this person, who left this person in the wilderness, and initially you don't even have any idea of how long the remains have been in the wilderness.
Investigators were intrigued by the sheets that covered Judy's body.
The sheets seemed to be kind of ordinary plain sheets, but they had some orange stitching that made it appear that they were commercial and not something that you or I might go to our local department store and buy.
Anchorage Sheraton recalled seeing her. So investigators turned their attention to another piece of evidence. A tuft of red carpet fibers found inside the sheet which covered Judy's body.
The tuft was red with some other micro colors kind of blended in with it, but its main color was red.
So initial investigators were looking at this, knew immediately when they saw that tuft that they'd made a significant find. They didn't know what they would be able to do with it, but this is not a fiber of the sort that we all carry around on a regular basis.
Most carpets are made with a single type of fiber that is the same in terms of size, shape, and color. But the red carpet fibers with Judy's body were completely different. There was no uniformity in the shapes of the fibers or how the dye had soaked into them.
Once you put it under a microscope, there are several different types of strands, several different types of colors, several different types of dyes, and frankly, the crime lab did not have the expertise for taking somebody to this place.
But the bartender recalled Judy saying she was going home to pick up something before taking a flight to Hawaii. Home was Carl Brown's place. Carl and Judy had been living together for about 9 months before her disappearance. Judy told her family that at times, Carl Brown was physically abusive.
I felt that it was an unhealthy relationship. As the time went on and things became evident that she wasn't happy, then I began to feel there was something going wrong.
Carl Brown was known to be a drug dealer in the Anchorage area for a substantial amount of time, for at least 10, 15 years. He dealt in cocaine and heroin.
Brown said that Judy moved out of his house and that he had no idea where she went. None of Judy's personal items were in his home. And investigators noticed that the carpeting in his home was not the same color as the fibers found with Judy's body.
The first thing I noticed when I walked into Mr. Brown's house was that his house was carpeted.
When Carl Brown put his house up for sale, Alaska police were free to conduct a thorough search.
We're searching for two things. We're searching for any blood evidence that might be in there. We're also searching for, obviously, red shag carpet fiber that we might use to match up with the carpet fiber found with the victim.
Luminol tests on the bedroom walls and ceiling revealed no traces of blood.
Of course, we're highly disappointed when we don't find any blood that we could somehow match to either Judy, Carl, or anybody that might have been related to the case.
We know up front that the carpet had been changed, so obviously we're going to look underneath the existing carpet.
And when they did, they made a startling discovery. Red carpet fibers like the ones found with Judy's body.
So we pull up the new carpet that had been placed down the year before.
On the hot stage, the fibers from Judy's body and those from Carl Brown's bedroom both melted at the exact same temperature.
Every case, they were identical to one another. Or for every corresponding fiber, there was a corresponding melting point that was the same.
Even the dyes were identical. In both samples, one of the junk fibers was thicker than the rest. As a result, the dye did not go all the way through it and is evident in both samples. This is called ring dyeing, a ring of dye around the outside of the fiber. For investigators, there was no doubt that the tuft of carpet found with Judy Bergen had come from Carl Brown's house.
It was almost overkill in a way. We had so many pieces of evidence that we could use in this case that showed that these fibers were identical in every way that could be measured.
We refer to it as a carpet fingerprint because essentially it's the same kind of evidence. It's very hard to explain away.
Carl Brown was arrested and charged with Judy Bergen's murder. Prosecutors believe that Judy grew tired of the physical abuse in her relationship with Carl Brown and decided to leave Alaska, fly to Hawaii.
Evidence like this, it is extremely powerful evidence.
Carl Brown denied killing Judy and blamed her death on drugs.
One of the defense tactics was that the victim died of a drug overdose and the skull crushing was a result of a moose stomping on her head. As a lifelong Alaskan, I have never heard of such a thing happening, period.
After a 5-week trial, Carl Brown was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 85 years in prison. All because of orange stitching on a bedsheet and some cheap red carpet that hadn't been dyed all the way through.
There was no doubt in anyone's mind after having that evidence produced that it was an actual fact, and they found him guilty, and they had a reason to find him guilty.
Essentially, Carl Brown had left his fingerprint on Judy Bergen's remains, unbeknownst to him, but fortunately for us, the investigation uncovered it.
The fiber evidence was the only physical direct link from the body and Carl Brown. It was the single most important piece of evidence that the jury heard during his trial.